Hello again, this is UML Operator. All right, in this session, we're going to be focusing on the Execute tab. This is the 6th installment within our review of Sparx Enterprise Architect tabs and ribbons. Okay, before we get started, I must preface that this channel is not teaching you how to program in any language. This channel is showing you how to use the unified modeling language, tools like Sparx Enterprise Architect, how to do model-driven architecture, MDA, model-driven development, MDD, and more around computer-aided software engineering. I just wanted to state that before the comments start asking me questions. Well, Tim, how do you do this in Python? How do you do this in C++? How do you do this in Ada? So I wish I could get into all of that, but there's a lot of content providers out there in the world, including ChatGPT. I will be exposing that. That will help you in learning a programming language. All right, with that out of the way and how we sometimes start these, you want to go to the Start tab. You want to go to Open Help, and it will launch the Sparx welcome page. You want to go to the Application Development menu and Navigation, and you want to go to the Ribbon menu, and we're on the Execute ribbon. So you can read ahead. They've got a lot of great content here for you, and you can follow along if you want. I'm pretty much just going to be going in the same order that they are. So let's get started. While we're here in Sparx site, under the Execute ribbon, we're going to start with the Tools group or panel. I refer to these as groups. I'll go back and forth on that. We're going to go to the Tools panel. Go ahead and select that. And then again, you can read ahead, click into the intelligence they provide for you. So the first item is Analyzer. We're going to hit the little down caret here. View Analyzer Scripts. And so for me, it pops up in the upper right window, right to the right of Pan and Zoom. You can move this window, like I've said in all the other videos, anywhere you want. I like it here, and I like it right before Inspector, all right? Now, when you're in the demo project, EA example, demo project, and what I'm going to do is go to Analyzer, View Analyzer Scripts. So in the demo project, you get these results for the analyzer scripts, and you can go through and select those. So I'm just going to go in the first one, and let's just go to this one around Java, launch it, and see what we get. And here we go. All right. So you can see that the analyzer script basically goes through your configuration and view management of the script dealing with simulation state machine artifact for Java. And you can see your build configuration, you can see your platform configuration, and much more. All right, so this tool is very useful in helping you drill down to that. While we're here, you can go back to Analyzer, and you can look at View Job Queue. This launches a job queue window in the lower right for me, and I like where it is right now. Again, put it anywhere that's complete for you. And so when you're building, starting, and managing jobs, you're going to have a job queue that's going to be up for you. You may want to configure the workspace. I'm going to grab this tab, drag it out, and we're going to put it right here. I'm going to grab the job queue, and I'm going to put it right underneath that. As soon as I find my arrow, there we go. So you might want to build a workspace configuration, might have system output right here. That works best for you. And then inspector right here. I like to move between traceability, features and operations, and system output. So this is a very productive workspace for me. And then of course I show in a previous video how to create custom workspaces and how to save those workspaces so you have quick access to them. Okay, the next item is services. Let's hit the down arrow. Let's view status of all services. And when I select that, this is my environment. You know, it's basically giving me the status of those environment. And if we were to look over on the right, The status for both of them is stopped. You can edit those. Basically, the status when you start, is starting and letting you know that everything is up and running. In addition, under services, you have the ability to start, stop, and test your satellite service, your agent service, and then in your CodeMiner service, you can start, stop all, auto start with EA, auto stop on close, those kind of things. You can also edit your configuration file wherever you are managing that. Now, I know I'm going fast, but we're really not focused for beginners on this. And when we get to the development, integrating with our development environments, whether they're IDEs, integrated development environments, or just scratchpads, you can use Sparx, of course, as your development environment. And we'll get into that deeper at that particular point. Now, as far as the remainder of the tools, debugger, let me just show you the down arrow here. You've got debug, diagram, profiler, options, and workspace. With profiler, you have profile, run, debugger, reports, options, and workspace. And for recorder, record, manage, visualize, which is pretty cool, and options, right? Then tester, test points, and workbench, right? And then I do like the XSLT. This is the editor that they have. And when we get into development subjects, we'll dive into each one of these. But I use Visual Studio, use Eclipse sometimes. It depends on what team I'm working with. And I use NetBeans for my really old stuff. So I'm going to stick with Visual Studio for this conversation. So it also has build, debug tooling, test, analyze, and other tooling that I tend to use during my code development. However, when you integrate your Sparx Enterprise Architect tooling with your development environment and you're doing model-driven development, and we're going to be talking later about PIM, platform independent modeling, and then choosing the technology, the language that you want to target. That's DSL, domain specific language. We'll get into that more as we get into advanced subjects. All right, next we're going to get into the Windows group or panel. And again, if you're following along with this, you can go down to Windows, you can select Windows panel, and it will explain each one of the tools that are available, the facilities that are available for you. And you can drill down to more intelligence that Sparx is providing you. So in the Windows panel or group, when we select breakpoints, you can see we have our breakpoints and markers window that pops up for you. Your call stack, you have another window that pops up for you, and I like call stack over on the right. Local variables, this is kind of important. This pops up for you. Again, for me in the upper right window, and I put it to the right of call stack. Watches, lower right, okay, and I move this right after system output. And again, configure it any way you want. Modules, and then memory viewer. This is very important, very useful. Again, I use Visual Studios and I use other tools for viewing, testing, and managing memory. Looking for, of course, memory problems, memory leaks, and other concerns around memory. All right, next we're going to move into the source panel. And again, you can go back in Sparx website, its help site, and you can look at this particular panel. But this gives you the ability, especially when you're integrated with your local repo, your source repo, and other file repo, you're able to search and find in files. And we'll talk about this when we get into more advanced subjects. There's a lot of documentation intelligence that you can connect to your elements. Here's a shortcut key, Control Shift Alt F. Good luck with remembering all the shortcut keys, but that's find in the source panel. I know I was laughing about the shortcut keys, but I can't remember all of them. And you can configure, I try not to configure factory defaults, but I use other tooling for my macros and my shortcuts, whether it's on your keyboard or I use Stream Deck from Elgato. I might demo that later on when you get into advanced subjects. Plus I use natural language processing to manage my application so I can talk to my computer and it does stuff, exercises, stuff, shortcuts, those kind of things for me automatically. So I might cover that in a much later session. So let's move over to edit. We're going to hit the down. So you can open source files, edit source files. You can do all sorts of things here. Let's roll over to an actual example. Okay, we're back over to our demo project. I have a test classes. I have one class defined right here with some operations and maybe some attributes. Can't remember. And we're going to go to edit. Now, open source file would just go out to wherever your source repo is and open it for you. If you already have it reverse engineered, or you're developing it in Sparx and you're generating the code, if you go to edit, as you've got the selected element, you can edit element source. And so when I do that, I'm actually looking at the source repo for the code relevant to this class element, right? And we'll get into this more as we're going forward. So you can edit new source. You can open an external editor. In this case, it's Sparx. You can configure where it will open up in your IDE or your source editor for your developer environment and so on. So that's edit source panel. Next is merge. I don't have it configured, so everything's disabled, but you can use this as your development and your testing and your release platform. You can use this being Sparx Enterprise Architect. Again, I use my IDE, my integrated development environment to do that, so I don't utilize this, but I'll try to demo that when we get into more advanced subjects. You can do build, you can start your code runs, you can pause just like you can in your development environment. Step in, step out, stop. You have your run panel here where you can do those kind of things as well. All right, now let's wrap up. So in this session, we covered the tools panel. I'm going to keep saying tools group, Windows group, source group, and the run group. We went through the tooling, the analyzer, touched on it. We touched on the service functions, facilities, and capabilities, and your debug, testing, and release management in your execution. In the windows, we went through the various windows that are available for you during the execute processing, managing source, editing source, finding source, handling your builds, the shortcuts, and the run panel. So we covered a lot in this session very quickly. Apologize for that. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. And as we get into model-driven development using Sparx Enterprise Architect, we may dive down into some of these tools and show how they can be used. Thanks very much for watching. Please leave comments down below, good or bad. That helps us guide how we're going to learn and share with each other. I appreciate the support in this channel as we're moving through. This series has been very long. I do a series on Sparx tabs and ribbons every major release, and we're in release 16 right now. 17 is probably around the corner, and then I repeat the whole series. I've been doing that for, well, I think all the way back to version 4, 3 or 4 when I started almost 20 years ago. So try to keep up. Ribbon and the tabs change often in Sparx. They slowed down a little bit over the last couple of major releases since 14 and 15, but I'll try to keep you up to date. Be sure to subscribe, to follow videos as we're coming out. Again, down in comments, ask those questions, all right? Try to answer them. Won't answer the ones around coding specifically, but around Sparx, around UML, I'll try to take a shot, answer those, maybe even produce videos for you to learn together. Thanks again. Talk to you all later. Bye-bye.